I'm David Peak. I'm in the physics department. I'm professor of physics. And I've been here for 25, going on 26 years. And before that, I taught for some large number of years also at a private liberal arts college in upstate New York. And I thought it would be impossible for me to enjoy being at Utah State coming from that experience. But it turns out that I enjoy Utah State a lot more than I enjoyed my prior experience. And I have been working with students in research for more years than I care to count. And have always, since I had an undergraduate research experience myself, I've always felt that undergraduate research is the best form of education. So until 2001 or so, I had no idea what a Goldwater Scholarship was. But Laura Anderson, our famous alum, who went on to things like Rhodes Scholarship and now is a professor in Virginia Tech, independently discovered this by herself, and she said, "Would you write me a letter of recommendation for a Goldwater Scholarship?" And I said, "What's that?" And then she got it, of course. And then the next year we had another student who did approximately the same thing, and he also got it. And then I said, I better look into this. So I started looking into it, and around 2006, I decided to try being a little more systematic about my interaction with the students and getting them prepared to be competitive. And since 2006, this is what, 15 years now, I've had what I don't know if it's clever or not, but I call it my boot camp for training potential Goldwater scholars every fall. And in that time, since 2006, we've had 60, it's 15 years, so we've had, each university can have 4 nominees. So we've had 60 nominees go to Goldwater, and 43 of the 60 have gotten some Goldwater recognition, most of them scholarships. So I've been pretty successful. I've learned more and more as time has gone on about the Goldwater process and who makes a good Goldwater Scholar candidate, and how the Goldwaters are reviewed, how the applications are reviewed, and the politics of the Goldwater process. And, overall, our success rate, which is about 3/4, is substantially higher than the national average. Here. Barry Goldwater was senator in Arizona for 30 years and was a grand old man of the Republican Party. And his colleagues in the Senate wanted to honor him. And so after thinking about it for a while, decided that they would start the scholarship program in his name. And so it's a federally endowed program and has been going on since 1989, gave the first scholarship in 1989. And every year they give several hundred scholarships to students who are majoring in the either science, mathematics, or engineering, and intend, they say, before they get the scholarship, that they will follow a career in research in the sciences for their profession. A Goldwater Scholarship does not fund students who want to become doctors or lawyers or veterinarians. They want to identify students in what I would call the more physical kinds of science. So building on the historical tradition at the university, undergraduate research has grown stronger and stronger, and the students who are successful in the Goldwater competition must have had an undergraduate research experience. And that requires getting started pretty much no later than the end of your freshman year. Students who start later than that are at a decided disadvantage in the competition. So that's what makes a good Goldwater, potentially a good Goldwater scholar. The other thing is you have to have good grades. The Goldwater Foundation uses GPA as a first cut. And if you have, I mean, they disingenuously say that you have to have a B average. If you had a B average and was going to somehow win the Nobel Prize, you would not get a Goldwater scholarship. You have to have a 3.8 something or higher. I typically ask the honors program and also various faculty members who have had undergraduate researchers in their laboratories or participated with them in undergraduate research, if they have recommendations for students who have been doing undergraduate research and have a fairly high GPA. And so they typically send me 20, 25 possible candidates that I then contact. And other faculty members will send me a small handful of possible candidates. So I start out the week before classes with about 30 names. And then in the first week of classes, I contact all of them and I say, this is the Goldwater Scholarship, that we'll have an information session in the first week. And if you're interested, show up at this time and I'll give you more information then. From that 30, maybe 20 show up. And then I tell them at this information session what the story is going to be. And one of the things that I tell them, I can't hide the fact that it's a lot of work. One of the things I tell them is you have to write a technical essay about your research experience, and you will revise that essay probably 8 times before it's done. And then I also tell them some other things about what's involved. And a couple days later, I have gotten down to about 12 from 20. And the 12 eventually becomes 8. And that's what we typically wind up with is 8 finalists who have completed everything in the application. And then we have to decide who of the 8 are the 4 that we're going to nominate. There are multiple parts to the application, but I think that the most important part is this technical essay. But the technical essay is going to be read by non-experts. And I have a rule. And the rule is that the first paragraph in the essay has to be able to be read by Chris Miller and understood by her. And if the students fail the Miller rule, then they have to rewrite it again. By the end of the semester, after having worked with these students endlessly and repetitively, I feel like they're more than just students. I kind of feel like I'm a parent. But invariably, what happens is the 4-ish or so who don't get selected by the university as nominees will send me emails saying what a positive experience the whole thing was, how valuable it will be to them in their professional lives. So everybody who could possibly go through this, I highly encourage to do that, because they're going to be doing things that they won't do in courses typically, or in other experiences. If they have a job making pizzas or something like that, that's good. That's a good experience, but it's not the same thing as this professional aspiration experience that they're getting in the boot camp. The student has never had this experience before, and it's a great experience for them. Those who finish everything may not succeed in even being nominated by the university, But that experience will have great benefits when they apply to graduate school or apply for a job, and have to write and have to say something in an interview. All of those things are helpful for them in terms of a broader picture than just the Goldwater Scholarship. I only have really good things to recall about my interactions with the students. I've never had a really bad interaction. As I say, many of the students who aren't selected by the university as nominees will still tell me that their experience was great. I like working with all the students. To make a long story short, my interaction with the Goldwater applicants has always been a peak. It hasn't. There's no valleys.